You're standing beside a living cow, blade in one hand, a wooden bowl in the other. You're not here to kill it. You press the tip into a vein at its throat, a nick no wider than a straw, and warm, dark liquid starts filling the bowl. In minutes, the wound is packed with ash and mud. The cow walks off to graze. You drink what's left. Right now, your protein comes shrink-wrapped, drained of everything red before it ever reached you. Somewhere along the way, humans decided drinking blood was primitive, monstrous even, reserved for horror movies and extreme documentaries. But for most of human history, blood wasn't taboo. It was medicine, ritual, and sometimes the only fuel available. So if drinking blood was normal, across dozens of unconnected cultures, for thousands of years, why did almost all of them eventually stop? In 2018, food anthropologists Michela Fontefrancesco and Samuel Lekanaya interviewed 93 people across 6 focus groups in Kajiado County, Kenya, producing one of the most detailed studies of Maasai foodways on record. What they found complicated the popular image. Blood wasn't gulped daily. It was harvested carefully, mixed with milk for a new mother, given to a warrior after circumcision, poured out during a wedding. Participants' last taste of it, on average, had been months earlier, not days. This wasn't reckless. It was a scheduled resource, taken from an animal too valuable to ever slaughter for food. Everyone assumes blood drinking was fringe, backward, something only primitive cultures did. Herodotus documented the exact opposite in the Scythians of the Eurasian steppe. Elite warriors who drank the blood of the first enemy they killed in battle, then used the man's skull as a cup. This wasn't cultural backwardness. It was a power ritual. So if it wasn't recklessness or backwardness, what actually made blood drinking rare almost everywhere else? Fast forward to the 13th century steppes of Central Asia, and soldiers were doing something similar under far more desperate conditions. Marco Polo, traveling through the Mongol Empire in the 1270s, described riders who could go what he called 10 days marches without lighting a single fire, sustained by nicking a vein in their horse's neck and drinking straight from it. One live horse could feed its rider for days. Blood wasn't a delicacy here. It was liquid fuel that never made you stop moving. Everyone assumes this kind of blood drinking was some desperate last resort. It wasn't. It was standard practice inside the force that built the largest contiguous land empire in human history. Here's where the story stops being cultural and starts being biological. In 2022, geneticist Michael Hiller and his team at the Max Planck Institute and the Lowy Center for Translational Biodiversity Genomics sequenced the genome of the common vampire bat, the only mammal alive that survives on nothing but blood. Vampire bats take in roughly 800 times more dietary iron than a human does. They suffer none of the damage that should cause. The team traced this to a lost gene, REP15, which in most mammals limits how much iron cells absorb. Losing it let the bats absorb the excess and simply flush it out. Nature had to rewrite an entire genome to make a blood-only diet survivable. Human bodies never got that rewrite. Everyone assumes humans quit drinking blood out of disgust. The real reason was invisible. Blood is almost pure heme iron, the type your body absorbs most efficiently and can barely excrete. Unlike a vampire bat, your liver and kidneys have no working drain for the surplus. Drink it regularly, in real volume, and the same mineral keeping you alive starts quietly wrecking your organs. So if blood was dangerous in volume, what replaced it as the herder's reliable animal fluid? The archaeological record points to milk. The earliest confirmed dairying dates to roughly 10,500 years ago in the Middle East, and geneticists tracing the mutation for adult lactose digestion, lactase persistence, have found it spreading through early European and African herding populations over the next several thousand years, arriving alongside cattle domestication itself. Humans didn't abandon the idea of drinking animal fluid. Evolution just handed pastoralists a second option: renewable, safer, and available every single day, instead of a few ounces a few times a year. So which of those was the real reason ancient humans stopped drinking blood? The iron, the danger, or the alternative? None of them acted alone. There was no council, no decree, no single generation that voted blood off the menu. What happened instead was a slow substitution. Milk was safer and always in the same place. Domesticated meat stacked more easily into a daily diet than a few careful ounces of blood ever could. Generation by generation, the ritual slid from staple to ceremony to rumor. The Maasai aren't holdouts who forgot to modernize. They're proof the practice was never actually dangerous in the doses it was used. Picture that bowl again. The cow standing calm, the wound already closing, the blood still warm. That animal walked away, and so did the tradition, mostly, replaced by protein that never asks you to touch anything alive. What ancient humans had was direct contact with the source of their own survival. The weight of it, the risk of it, the intimacy of it. What they traded it for was distance, and a diet with the danger edited out. The blood didn't disappear because it was too dark for us. It disappeared because we found a way to survive without ever having to look our food in the eye. You're standing over a living animal with a blade, and you're not trying to kill it. For most of human history, that wasn't a horror scene. It was breakfast. This video traces why blood, once medicine, fuel, and ritual, across cultures from East Africa to the Mongol steppe, quietly vanished from the human diet almost everywhere it was ever practiced.